What is up YouTube? We're underleveled. My name is TotK, and in this video I'm gonna be going over what many people have been wondering since the release of Tears of the Kingdom, and that's where does it fit in the Zelda timeline? This video is going to have a lot of our theories to fill in the empty gaps in the lore, in hopes of trying to complete the full story of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Some might sound crazy to you, but we hope that it makes you stop and think about the what ifs. And just a disclaimer, like I said, this video will contain our personal theories and speculations, and while they are mostly based off of information given to us in games, books, and interviews, they're still just that, theories and speculations. Everyone's theory is just as plausible until more information is announced. Also, this video from here on out will contain spoilers. But with that out of the way, let's get right into it. So, for the past 6 years after the release of Breath of the Wild, many of us were easily speculating that Breath of the Wild was at the very end of the timeline, with Skyward Sword at the very beginning. Okay, but wait, where does this all fit in the timeline? What about everything that happened in Skyward Sword? The Triforce in Hyrule, Demise in Hylia, Rauru and Sonia are the first King or Queen of Hyrule. But how? Well, grab a beverage and take a seat as we explain to you how we think everything fits together on this crazy timeline. Let's start at the very beginning of the Zelda timeline. No, not with Skyward Sword, because with the new information we got in Tears of the Kingdom, we believe that it's possible that some events discussed in Tears of the Kingdom predate even Skyward Sword. But don't worry, because Skyward Sword is still on this timeline, but we'll get to that a bit later on. But from what we know, both Zelda and Minoru explain how the ancient races would worship Zonai as gods, due to the fact that they descended from the heavens and wielded godlike abilities. But if the Zonai they worshipped at the time were already advanced, then what if the Zonai were indeed the first race to exist, a race that started far beyond any other race that we know today? Not only could they be the first civilized race to exist, but according to the descriptions in the Breath of the Wild Creating a Champion book, the Zonai were rumored to be a very savage tribe, very different from the peaceful Rauru and Minoru we see in Tears of the Kingdom. What if the very first Zonai had a savage disposition out of necessity? Now what if among this powerful magic-wielding race stood 3 exceptionally powerful Zonai with unfathomable magic? Could it be possible that the 3 most powerful beings in the Zelda timeline, being Din, Furore, and Nehru, could they have been ancient powerful magic-wielding Zonai? Let's dive deeper into this theory, because this might actually make a lot of sense. Okay, so let's think here. What if, at the very beginning of the timeline, Din, Furore, Nehru, and Hylia fought against Demise, who we know as the Demon King? A battle fierce enough to be described as the creation of the world, transforming landscapes entirely in the wake of their battle. And what if Din, Furore, and Nehru, during the battle, created the secret Zonai stones, and with them was able to seal away Demise? This could be supported by Skyward Sword's prologue, as it says that the ground cracked open and monsters flooded the surface, which could mean that Demise and his demon army could have been sealed away underground long ago prior to battling Hylia. Okay, but going back to Din, Furore, and Nehru. After they were able to seal Demise away with the help of the secret Zonai stones they created, we believe that it was at this point they created the Triforce, knowing that one day the seal would be broken and would need a greater power to combat such an evil. It's possible that they entrusted it to Hylia, the goddess of time, and tasked her with going into the distant future to protect all who Demise would threaten when he breaks free from his seal. From here, the Triforce would become a legend that would be passed down through the generations. We theorize that Hylia had a family and leaves them behind to carry out the final wishes of the 3 great Zonai. Yes, you heard me. We believe that Hylia could possibly have had a family, and we will go over why we think this could be possible a bit later, so keep watching, it gets good. And what if, after entrusting Hylia with protecting the future, we believe that after this great battle, the 3 powerful Zonai could have been mortally wounded and nearing the end of their life, much like Minoru after the imprisoning war. that they ate their sacred stones and became eternal dragons before vanishing into the sky. Could it be possible that the wounds they sustained caused them to vanish for many years, only to reappear patrolling the skies as Dinral, Naydra, and Farosh in Breath of the Wild? We believe this is the reason why the Zonai worship dragons so much, as seen in all of the Zonai statues, shrines, weapons, and symbols. It could have been to honor the 3 powerful Zonai who made the ultimate sacrifice to watch over the land that they fought to protect for all eternity. Now, after Demise was sealed, the 3 great Zonai turned into eternal dragons, and Hylia went into the future. We believe that peace and prosperity for the Zonai began, allowing them to advance their civilization and technology, until Demise's seal slowly began to decay, allowing him to possibly summon monsters once more. An ability we see Ganondorf use in Breath of the Wild, even while under Rauru's spell. Now, it's possible that their warlike disposition and combat ability would slowly begin to weaken during this peaceful time, where they could possibly have focused more on technology than combat. So we theorize that this is a reason that the population of the Zonai became smaller and smaller. It's because monsters were attacking them on the surface, until they used their advancements to flee to the sky, where they could have possibly believed that the dragons would protect them. From here, we do know that this is where the Zonai would stay for most of their remaining days. After the Zonai fled to the sky, we believe this is when other races began to pop up on the surface, such as the Zora, Rito, Gerudo, and Hyrulean, which, at this time, Hyrulean may have been different from the modern-day Hylian that we know, but we'll go over that a little bit later. We strongly believe that the Zonai needed to return to the surface every now and then. One possible reason is to farm precious Zonite, as it's said in Tears of the Kingdom that the caves in the sky that contain Zonite would start to yield less and less, which means the only place to get Zonite could have been on the surface. Another possible reason why they could have returned back down is to start families with the different races on the surface. But in Tears of the Kingdom, we do know that the Zonai did come down from the Rito legend, Song of the Stormwind arc, where a Zonai comes down from the sky, gets stuck on the surface, until a Rito helped him build an arc to go back up to the sky. Could it be that when the Zonai interacted with the races on the surface, that the Zonai would be known to be higher beings, descendants of gods, and whose powerful ancestors once created the land they lived on? But at some point we theorized that the Zonai population must have been threatened by something in the sky where they thought they would be safe. We came to this theory because in Tears of the Kingdom, Rauru explains that the existence of the soldier constructs to keep out trespassers was a necessity. So there must have been something in the sky that forced them to create the soldier constructs as well as the flux constructs that might have led the rest of the Zonai race to whittle down, until only Rauru and Minoru were left. Now, being the last 2 remaining Zonai, Rauru and Minoru descended to the surface, bringing with them powerful magic, advanced technology, as well as the relics known as the Secret Stones. Now, remember when we mentioned how we think Hylia could have had a family before traveling into the future with the Triforce? Well, it could be possible that her bloodline still ran strong to this day, and her distant descendant Sonia had inherited her power to manipulate time. We can even see some Zonai traits might have evolved over time, as the Zonai possibly had families with Hyruleans. For example, you can see that Sonia's elongated ears are closer to that of the Zonai than the modern-day Hylians. And as we're told, Rauru would meet Sonia, who at the time was a priestess. They would later get married and begin the founding of the Kingdom of Hyrule. But in the shadows we know of Ganondorf's dark intent. Perhaps the seal on Demise weakens even more, and his will is imparted in Ganondorf, giving him more power than past Gerudo kings. Because we know, a secret stone doesn't grant you power, but instead amplifies the power you already possess. We also know that this is not the first Gerudo male to exist, as knowledge of a Gerudo male every 100 years is already known in this time. But from here we know that eventually Ganondorf steals Sonia's secret stone and throws the world into chaos. And with the secret stone he turns into the Demon King, which, in Skyward Sword, is what Demise is called. Also, a cool little detail is that in this cutscene where Ganondorf attacks with Moldugas, this exact location on the map is called Breach of Demise. Pretty cool, huh? But anyway, we know the outcome of the imprisoning war, with Rauru sacrificing himself to seal Ganondorf, Minoru succumbing to her wounds from battle and abandoning her physical body, and Zelda turning into an eternal dragon. Okay, but what about the Master Sword? Well, we know that leading up to the events of the imprisoning war, the Master Sword and the knowledge of the hero was not yet known, as it was only after Zelda arrived did they learn about such a sword and knight existed. And now, this is finally where we believe Skyward Sword would take place. Now, remember when we said that we theorized that Hylia was tasked with taking the Triforce to the distant future to protect all the races against Demise's inevitable return? Well, we believe that this is where the prologue of Skyward Sword starts, with Hylia lifting up the Hyruleans to the sky to protect them from the battle against Demise, who has now broken free from his seal on the surface. Now, what about Hylia and Skyward Sword Zelda? How does that even work? This is what we think could possibly work. So Hylia went forward to Skyward Sword time with the Triforce. What if Hylia could sense that her distant relative was now a Hyrulean, much like Sonia could sense her bloodline in Tears of the Kingdom Zelda? Knowing this, what if Hylia passed down the Triforce to her descendant, who would become the ancestors of Skyward Sword Zelda, as well as left her memories to be discovered when the time came? We know that in Tears of the Kingdom, Link can see Zelda's memories from her tears. But what if there's another way to impart your memories to another person? I know, real tinfoil hat, ancient alien stuff here, but what if it's possible? What we do know is that in Rauru's time, the Temple of Time and the Garden of Time were still on the surface. It was only after his passing that it was raised to the sky by Minoru and Zelda, as told in the quest, Messages from an Ancient Era, which then supports our theory that Zonai do have the ability to raise land to the sky. We also know from the cutscene, the Sage's Vow, the room where the sages pledge alliance, the great goddess statue known as the Mother Statue was not yet there during Rauru's time. The Mother Statue is believed to be the same large goddess statue that fell to the ground in Skyward Sword. We believe that it was after Hylia lifted the land skyward, creating Skyloft, that the remaining Hyruleans would come to worship her for saving them, and name themselves Hylian in her honor. We can see in Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda refers to her race as Hylian, but in her memories, Ganondorf refers to Sonia as Hyrulean, which leads us to believe that Hylia did not yet become truly relevant until after she appeared in the future, after the events of the imprisoning war. But we feel like the stories of her fighting alongside the first three powerful Zonai had been passed down, and thus the Kingdom of Hyrule was created. Now, another tinfoil hat theory that we thought of as to why the kingdom was called Hyrule without Hylia's influence is that it could possibly be an amalgamation of the words high and rule, as in Rauru, who is from high in the sky, now rules this kingdom. I know it sounds crazy, but if we look at the game A Link Between Worlds, the parallel world that exists is called Lorule, as in opposite of Hyrule. But again, that's just a crazy idea we had laying in bed at 3 in the morning. But are you ready for more upsetting, crazy tinfoil theories? We all know how Skyward Sword goes, but what about the Master Sword and Fi? So crazy theory number 503. Doesn't Fi give you very artificial intelligent vibes? Could it be that she was created with advanced Zonai technology? Okay, well, what about Girahim, who was Demise's sword? Well, it's possible that Girahim was created with dark magic, which is why he seemed less robotic and more human. I mean, after all, Demise did have some crazy dark abilities. I know it sounds crazy since we have never seen Zonai tech to be that advanced, but it's just food for thought. But anyway, once Skyward Sword ends, then the normal Zelda timeline continues, and finally, with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom at the very end of the timeline, like before. Okay, so just to recap, this is what we theorize the timeline looks like without all of that extra stuff. The Zonai being the first race to ever exist. 3 powerful Zonai created the Secret Stones, and with Hylia, battled and sealed demise underground. The three powerful Zonai created the Triforce and gave it to Hylia, where she went forward to the distant future. The three Zonai ate their secret stones and became eternal dragons before they ascended to the sky. The Zonai worshipped the three dragons. Monsters on the surface threatened the Zonai, causing them to flee to the sky. Constructs were built for help and protection. Other races started to pop up on the surface, such as the Gerudo, Rito, Zora, Goron, and Hyruleans. Zonai would visit the surface to gather resources and start families. The people of the surface would worship the Zonai that descended from the heavens. With the Zonai population reduced to only Rauru and Minoru, the two of them would return back to the surface. Rauru meets the priestess Sonia, they get married, and founded Hyrule. Tears of the Kingdom Zelda appears in Rauru and Sonia's time. Ganondorf begins to carry out his plan to steal the Secret Stone. Ganondorf steals Sonia's Secret Stone and becomes the Demon King. This is the start of the Imprisoning War. Rauru gives the remaining Secret Stones to the sages. Rauru then fights and seals Demon King Ganondorf. Zelda eats her Secret Stone to become an Eternal Dragon to heal and empower the Master Sword. Many years pass. This is when Skyward Sword starts. Hylia is now here from the distant past. Sealed Demise breaks free and battles Hylia. Hylia then creates Skyloft. Hylia gives the Triforce to Skyward Sword Zelda's ancestors to protect it. Skyward Sword Zelda is born, and so is the first hero. Then the rest of Skyward Sword plays out. Finally, with Breath of the Wild at the very end. Wow, 17 minutes just to say that we believe Breath of the Wild is still at the end of the timeline. But I mean, I needed to explain why. And I'll make sure to timestamp this video so you don't have to feel like I'm forcing you to hear our crazy theories. But don't take this video too seriously. Think of this as us writing a fanfiction for our favorite story. We took this story and we filled in the blanks with what we felt could possibly work, or just would be awesome to see happen. And we came up with this. But we would love to hear what you think about our theories and what your theories are in the comments down below. Let's start a discussion. But anyway, we hope you were able to walk away from this video with a different perspective of the current Zelda timeline. And if you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to hit that like button, as well as subscribe and turning on the bell for notifications for more Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom content. But like always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.